guests who are invited for the program, and all fathers and sisters, Dr. John Dayal, and the members of the August gathering. Dear friends, we are gathered here to celebrate one of the greatest personality of our time, Reverend Father Swamy. It is his first death anniversary, and we have come together to pay our tribute. We all know Father and divinity, words, deeds has inspired and influenced the life of millions of people in and around India and across the world. We thank the Almighty for the gift of Father Stan to our society. And today, in a special way, we have come to pay our tribute. May I invite all the distinguished guests, as well as all my dear friends, those who are present, to come and pay the floral tribute to Father Stan Swamy one by one. As the floral tribute is being paid, may I request, if possible, the sisters present here to start a hymn which is fitting. Or anyone can start, not necessarily. Any hymn. All of you are invited to pay the floral tribute. Dear friends, we also welcome Monsignor Most Reverend Father Vincent D'Souza, who is present in our midst. Welcome, Father. Now may I welcome Father Felix Jones, the Director of Ecumenical Relations, to welcome all the distinguished guests.
Dear distinguished guests, good evening to all of you. Father Stan Swamy took up a cause, and in death he became a cause. He voluntarily suffered death as the penalty to end penalty to and refusing to forsake a value and a commitment. He chose to suffer death rather than renounce his commitment to the empowerment of indigenous peoples and indigenous land. He chose to die in order to further his commitment. Father Stan Swamy has become a reference point for social commitment, especially commitment to the marginalized. We are here to remind ourselves, we are here that we need to prolong the mission of Father Stan in all of us. His values, his commitment should take birth in us, and that is the tribute to Father Stan we can offer. In the Bible we have the parable of Good Samaritan. It says, love not in words, but in deeds. And these deeds involve risk, sacrifice, and sharing of one's possessions. Where suffering is found, where the poor and needy exist, there lies an opportunity to become their neighbors. Father Stan was a neighbor, in the biblical sense, to all the indigenous people and their land. He is a saint killed by a vulgar system. He leaves unslaved his dreams to a son. A question arising as before us today: will his martyrdom go in vain? Stand for one another. We are promise. We are sign. We are wonder. We are both seed as well as soul. We are harvest. We are hungry. We are question. We are creed. There is a movement spreading now in Nigeria called Coconut Head Generation. It's centered around the new candidate there, Peter Obi. Strong-willed, interdependent-minded, contemptuous of older, unproductive leaders and politicians who have done little. So this movement coconut head generation is spreading in Nigeria for a change. And all of us present here can be the change which Father Stan brought through his birth, through his life, through his commitment, and through his death. Can we become the so-called coconut head generation to rise against whatever is negative around us? Dear sisters and brothers, welcome to your time of introspection. Welcome to your time of pledge and commitment. And an unrelenting, inclined, enthusiastic yes to prolong the mission of Father Stan Swamy. On behalf of all of you, I would like to welcome Professor Neera Chandok, the guest speaker today. And may I invite Ms. Nancy Barlow, the Minority Commission member, to welcome Professor Neera with a bouquet of flowers. Once again, I extend a hearty welcome to all of you to have a meaningful session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Felix. Now, may I invite Father Denzel Fernandez to come on the dais, because Father is going to be the chairman of the day and he is going to lead us into the rest of the program. Father Denzel Fernandez is the Jesuit priest of the Goa Jesuit province. He is currently the executive director of Indian Social Institute, New Delhi. He is also the editor of the social science research journal called Social Action. He was awarded the PhD in social science from Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai. He has co-authored and co-edited 6 books, and he has written several articles in journals, magazines, and edited books. He was awarded the Delhi Minorities Commission Human Rights Award in 2019 for his work for the rights of minorities and marginalized community. Welcome, Father Denzel Fernandez. Now I hand over the mic to Father Denzel, and Father Denzel will welcome to the rest of the
Good evening to all of you. First of all, I invite Neera Chandok, Professor Neera Chandok, to the dais. We have gathered here this evening to celebrate the life of Father Stan Swamy, especially on this occasion, the first anniversary of Father Stan Swamy. We all recall on this day when, as the hearing, the bail application hearing was going on in the Bombay High Court, it was announced that he passed away in Bodhi Hospital, Bandra, Mumbai, where he was after he had contracted COVID in Taloja jail. And he has, we all know his life and how he was incarcerated in jail, falsely implicated in a false and fabricated case, and how he gave witness in jail to his values of being in solidarity with the marginalized, especially the Adivasis of Jharkhand. And I would like today just to give the last poem he wrote from the jail, which he wrote on 7th of April, but it was received by Jose. Light, hope, love, the new order. Light overpowering darkness, hope replacing despair, love winning over hate is the message of Jesus risen. Darkness, despair descended on me. At lower court, declaring me complicit of waging war against the state. As such, not deserving bail. And what was the evidence? Some documents planted in my computer, which was supposedly addressed to me, something I myself was not in the know. My co-accused colleagues assured me this accusation is nothing new. They too have been accused similarly. I was thus consoled to be in their good company. But fight we will till the end. Not so much just to save our skin, but to speak truth to power, counting all the while you all are with us in mind and heart. And we all know after this he was admitted in hospital and then he passed away last year on this day. Today, as we remember and celebrate his life, we have several programs across the country, physical as well as online. And over here in Delhi, we have this memorial lecture, the first Palestine memorial lecture being organized by the Federation of Catholic Associations of the Archdiocese of Delhi. And to deliver this lecture, we have with us Dr. Meera Chandok. She is the Center for Equity Studies, New Delhi. Earlier, she retired as professor in the Department of Political Science, University of Delhi. She completed her MA and PhD, University of Delhi, and was associate professor in Lady Shri Ram College for 17 years, and was professor and director of Developing Countries Research Center at the Delhi University for 27 years. Her area of specialization is political theory, comparative politics, Indian politics. During the course of a vast teaching experience, she taught comparative political theory, text, political philosophy, history. So we have a distinguished academic with us to help us understand this new reality which we are facing in these times. Over to you, Dr. Meera.
Good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me to join this celebration of National Life. I stand here to pay homage to the religious activists who exhibited great compassion, solidarity, and sympathy with the most disadvantaged you can't hear? Please go ahead. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Now.
Sympathy Sympathy is a virtue that we have recently discovered in political theory. It's considered to be a soft emotion, not like justice or equality or any other of the values. But sympathy was theorized by nobody less than the Scottish moralist Adam Smith. Though Adam Smith is better known for his book on the causes of the wealth of nations, he wrote another book called The Theory of Moral Sentiments, which ran into 9 editions, and one edition came after the much acclaimed Wealth of Nations. He's known as a neoclassical economist who said that it is from the self-interest of the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker that the market runs. But on the other hand, in the theory of moral sentiments, Adam Smith told us that if there is one thing that distinguishes human beings, it is the gift, the fine sentiment of sympathy. And we are able to sympathize with others, which transforms us from an individual into a social being, because we have the gift of imagination. We don't have to be in a torture chamber, we can imagine the pain that somebody in the torture chamber experiences. That allows us to actually rise above our self-interest, to rise above our selfish motivations. And you can imagine the conflict between the two books. The argument in his two books led to a big debate, particularly called the Dutch problem of Adam Smith. How do you reconcile these two notions, these two books of Adam Smith? But I think the theory of moral sentiments has been under-discovered, under kind of discussed, and perhaps even under-cited. And it needs to be read because all of us are social beings, unless we make common cause with our own people. We will not realize our potential as fully human, realize our potential as human beings who have the gift of sympathy and therefore solidarity. Solidarity can only come through my imagining what it feels like to be in a prison, the age of Swamy, and being forced to file petitions to even get a slipper and a walking stick. Today, 11 of his co-prisoners are on a day-long fast, and one of them, Swamy, has said he was murdered by the Indian state. Because the Indian prison system is becoming quite different. It's complete neglect of, and it's complete indifference towards the needs of political prisoners. Political prisoners are supposed to be treated differently. Even the British treated them differently. They need a different category. But I'm afraid here political prisoners are treated alongside as we honor his memory of activism. We honor him as a human being who left us a rich legacy, and it is in this context that I want to go forward. Another Russian poet who had written a poem on what it means to empathize with her people, Anna Akhmatova. Anna Akhmatova for 17 years 17 months stood outside prisons of Stalin's Russia, waiting for her son, because her son had been in prison, she didn't know where he was. Her famous poem, Requiem Without a Hero, says, and I quote, "No, not under a foreign sky, no in the shelter of a foreign wing, with my people there stood I, with them in their suffering." And I think this is an important part of us as human beings today, today's India. We have to stand by our people in their suffering. That stands Swamy there. And what I want to do in the next 40 minutes or so, I'm not going to take too much of your time, we'd rather have this discussion. Is to outline two aspects of our constitutional life. One is, of course, the fact which is again under theorized of a generation. Students have been coming to MA and BA and also MA say Constitution of India was based upon the Government of India Act of 1945. And none of them seem to know the contributions of the nationalist leadership to the making of particularly the Bill of Rights. Let me suggest that there comes a time in the history of every society, in the biography of every political community, when we have to begin to think, reflect, debate on, and discuss the foundational principles which brought us from there to here, that established us as a democracy. We were fairly sure, a very young person, that emergency happened, and probably not even very conscious of what the implications of it were. The first such moment when we had to discuss, when we had to think the importance of a fundamental right chapter of the Constitution was the emergency from 1975 to 1977. Till then we were fairly confident that our civil and political liberties were intact. They had been fought for by the leaders of our freedom struggle. They had been enshrined in the Constitution. And there was no reason to hope that the judiciary would not stand with the people of India when it came to a conflict between the government and the rights granted in Chapter 3 of the Constitution. And for this we have to realize that in India, imaginings of a future Indian democracy began as early as 1895. In 1895, a Constitution of India bill came to the attention of the political public, and nobody seemed to know what it was. Annie Besant believed that Lokmanya Tilak had authorized, had written it was the author, but he did not acknowledge. What is important is that this Constitution from 1895, which is almost less than 40 years after the first president of the vote, once taught in writing and in words, the right to publish them without liability to censure. Nobody can be imprisoned without a specific crime having been proved against him. No one shall be sentenced except by a competent authority. You don't get sentenced by EDs and CBI and all kinds of random surveillance agencies. It has to be proved in a court of law. I mean, these were obviously minds that had been well taught by the British liberal, in the British liberal system. The law should be equal for all. Every citizen has a right to property, and every citizen has a right to elect a member to the Parliament of India. In 1924, 43 distinguished Indians signed a memorandum that accompanied the Commonwealth of India Bill 1925. The bill stated India has a right to self-government. You know, by then, Indians were not very sure what Swaraj meant, whether it meant self-determination, whether it meant true Swaraj or a Declaration of Rights stated that the fundamental right of every person is to liberty and security of his dwelling. The police can't walk into your house and just appropriate your property, your electronic devices, your laptops. What is freedom of conscience, free profession and practice of religion, the free expression of opinion, and the right to assemble peacefully without arms. These are the staples of the basic freedom struggle that had arisen in what we used to call bourgeois societies. The English Revolution of 1968, the French Revolution of 1989, and the British Revolution. Each person has a right to form association. When our civil society is under attack by some back upon the makers of this crowd and being going to speak to speak when taking this power, second reading was due for the Labour government felt so unfortunately. A fuller version of the Bill of Rights, and I'm focusing on this because we have to know that civil liberties the British government did not accept that Indians should have fundamental rights right up to the cabinet mission. They kept refusing your constitution, you know, rights. And every leader of the mainstream movement, the Indian National Congress, spoke about Bill of Rights to any constitution. Now, in 1928, something very interesting happened. The Swamy Commission, the Swamy Commission, have a single Indian, despite the fact that we had a profusion of very experienced lawyers in the country. And they were supposed to judge the state of politics in India. Wherever the Sunday who got Birkenhead, the challenge Motilal to show me that you guys can come to our constitution. This met, appointed an all-party meeting, and the all-party meeting, Motilal had its share, issued a draft, and it is a remarkable draft because not even advanced Western countries, democracies had this kind of a constitution that Motilal draft had. For one, they gave us an integrated system of rights. Physical rights, civil rights, as well as social rights. You had the right to trade unions, you had the right to education, you had the right. And more interestingly, at that point in time, Ceylon, what was to be known as Ceylon, had created a constitution and said women will only have the right to vote after the age of 30. I don't know what the charm is in game. And Motilal Nehru said everybody will have the right to win and about one. They were the normal people, they were the poverty stricken because we had none of the constitution which are created in other parts of the advanced world. Any artificial restriction on the right to vote, Motilal Nehru draft, is an unwarranted restriction on democracy. There is no equation between civic virtue and the franchise. You don't have to be literate to cast your vote. It is remarkably different. And the court says we attach no weight to the objections based on the prevailing illiteracy of the court and their lack of political experience. Political experience can only be acquired by active participation in politics. And in a way, it cannot depend upon literacy. There should be equal opportunities available to all to acquire this experience. Nobody shall be deprived, the classic civil rights, nobody shall be deprived of life and liberty. Nobody's dwelling shall be forcibly entered. You have freedom of expression, you have the freedom of conscience. And above all, the Motilal Nehru constitutional draft granted two rights which were completely unknown. The first right was minority rights. You see, it so happened that the Congress went to the Muslim League and said, join the All Parties Commission. The Muslim League said, separate electorate. So the Congress was ideologically opposed to it. So they said, we will not give you separate electorate, we will give you rights to assurance of your country, which later became Article 59 and 30. Of course, it was a period when the League of Nations had started talking about minority rights and bring up a great pile, but they did not really apply the principle of minority rights very equitably for women. But this was in the second innovation. They made social rights. That was the time when even Britain had not granted social rights, despite the fact that wholesale mobilization had happened. The Motilal Nehru constitutional draft gave social rights to the future settlements of an independent India. And they had a very amusing, they had a very amusing scene between Jawaharlal Nehru and his father, Motilal Nehru. And Jawaharlal Nehru said, why have you given the right to private property? This is symptomatic of capitalism. You don't have to have a constitutional draft which bears the influence of capitalism. And Motilal Nehru said, you need an imprint of communism. But then Jawaharlal Nehru said, I don't want the imprint of communism, but private property is going to after a bit. So that kind of a debate happens. And the most important is the right to peace. You see, we cannot practice solidarity or sympathy with other sections of our community unless we have the right of association. And it is precisely the right to associate and the right to assemble peacefully without arms, which has been completely destroyed by the government. It was neither a civil society organizations have been deprived of the funding, or they've been closed down, they've been harassed by the people. And if you manage to assemble half, I think 3/4 of Delhi is under control. You can't assemble. You cannot demonstrate solidarity, you cannot demonstrate sympathy, you cannot demonstrate that we are one. We have a right to critique, to engage with this government. We have a right to hold it accountable for our rights of vision and commission. In a way, the rights the Motherland Labour Constitutional draft also gave the right to equality, but in a very weak form. The second important aspect of our freedom struggle was they demanded a constituent assembly. The British were not going to give us a constitution. We will draft our own constitution. And this demand comes up in 1934. Set up a constituent assembly. We will draft our own constitution. But it is only when Indians are the authors of this constitution that people will have a sense of identification with them, that people will have a sense of self-ownership. You're not going to identify with a constitution that is drafted by the British minister. In a very significant sense, the constitution or the leadership of mainstream movement property of vote. And now you recognize that we are starved of the right to freedom of expression, where there is a palpable atmosphere of fear in the country. That civil rights are so important that and before you do anything else, you must have the right to security of your life and your body's integrity, the right to life. The right against custodial torture, the right not to be imprisoned without due course and very This is our history. And you consider what the history of the corporate India has become, how it has changed, when people are being arrested without even evidence, and what a basic presupposition of law is that nobody will be judged guilty unless nobody can be proved guilty unless it's through a court of law. Everybody is presumed innocent if you're proved guilty. There is no question. Media trials have actually started targeting individuals, and this is the history to come down to what our makers have provided for us. In the Hurricane of 19 November 1939, Gandhi wrote a piece for the Union. And he said the only way that we are going to alter our constitution. Yeah, is it better now? Because that will be the surest index to popular feeling. Illiteracy does not worry me, said Gandhi. I would plump for unadulterated franchise for men and women. I would not give a separate vote to the Muslims. But without giving separate vote, I would, at least reluctantly, give reservation, if required, to every real minority of the victims in their strength. This is Gandhi, 1939, Hurricane. The people might make a mess of governing their country. Limited. But they cannot govern themselves through a government imposed from without. Even as the fabled jackdaw could not walk like a peacock with feathers borrowed from its elegant companion. Allow us to make our own mistakes. We want independence. We will run our own country. And the story is that when someone said, you can't even organize Hindu-Muslim relations, Gandhi said, we organized the Kumbh Mela. What makes you think we can't run a country? He had complete experience, after organizing all these Kumbh Melas. And then, of course, the most prescient was the leaders of the freedom struggle, Jawaharlal Nehru. A constitution authored by the people, he said, means the creation of a new state. This cannot be done by a group of lawyers within the country. It cannot be done by a small committee, which means a committee, and calling that constitution making. It can never be done by an external authority. It can only be done effectively when the urge and the sanctions come from the masses. We want a directly elected constitution. Unfortunately, he had to settle for an indirectly elected constitutional assembly because the British government pointed out it would take too much time to prepare the country for a census and electoral control. But he said, Nehru had said, we are not asking for a gift from the British government. We are stating what we propose to have and will have. If there was a clear declaration of independence and the right of the Indian people to frame their own constitution, it was in Nehru's piece. Because he said this itself will create a moment of revolutionary significance. This is a contribution. Our constitution is not based only on the Government of India Act 1935. Of course, that provides the incorporation of so many administrative measures. He said, under laws, and he spoke of constitutional morality. But the preamble, the spirit of the constitution of a democracy would only have been worked out by people who were involved in politics. You see, our constitution is the product of a struggle. It is the product of a struggle that compromised to a great deal, that made many concessions to many things that were not acceptable to the liberal leadership. It's certainly not to me. But they fought for a constitutional assembly, they fought for a Bill of Rights, and the victory came when in 1946. The cabinet mission plan said, all right, set up an advisory committee for the drafting of these rights. We all know that social rights and political and civil liberties were separated in the Constituent Assembly. But in a way, we have to understand that constitutions are important. Constitution is not a new thing. Greece had constitution, the ancient Roman Empire had constitution. Modern constitutions are distinct from earlier constitutions because they establish conditions for the justifiable and legitimate exercise of political power. These are the conditions in which you will exercise political power, and any arbitrary exercise of power cannot be allowed. You have to act in accordance with the Constitution. The opening phrase of the preamble, we the people, establishes the doctrine of popular sovereignty. Governments, all governments, have an inherent tendency to authoritarianism. A fatal tendency to augment their power at the expense of others. So the liberal constitution makers sought to a classical liberal doctrine, separation of powers, checks and balances, rule of law, independent judiciary, a free media, and the right to association. The language of civil society was not there in the Constitution. And there were two aspects they dealt with. Liberal philosophers have always been scared of two events that might rock the Constitution. of demagogues? Because demagogues can make go anyway. And the second factor that they are worried about, all liberal philosophers have been worried about, are majorities. Therefore, every constitution in the world provides, democratic constitution, provides for the right to equality, or at least its weaker avatar, the right to no discrimination. You shall not discriminate. In the Constituent Assembly of 25th November 1949, the Constitution was being prepared by the end of November 1949, 30th of November 1448, Dr. Ambedkar warned his colleagues that the liberal philosopher John Stuart, he reminded them of the words of John Stuart Mill, that people should not lay their liberties at the feet of a great man, or even to trust him with powers that might subvert institutions. There is nothing wrong being grateful to great men, he said. They have rendered lifelong service to their society, but there are limits. And these limits are, no nation can be grateful at the cost of liberty. To give up your rights to acclaim a great man, to acclaim a national hero, to acclaim a muscle man who is decisive, who is strong, who takes decisions, you follow liberty. Citizens have to be skeptical of power. Intellectuals are not supposed to join the state. They are supposed to engage with the government. Intellectuals are supposed to critique the government, not become a member of the Rajya Sabha or become an advisor to the government. They to become a court historian, nothing more. Intellectuals, I'm not talking of academics, I'm talking of public intellectuals will not join the state. They have to keep a skeptical eye. Reveal aspects of the government which the ordinary eye cannot see, which your newspaper headlines do not tell you about. To see the seeds of authoritarianism in every policy, and I will remind you that the first instance of fascism, the first indication of fascism, is when every institution between the individual citizen and the government is destroyed. Then you have nothing to protect the individual. No civil society, no judiciary, no rule of law, no media. And you only have bare naked power. This is the first indication of fascism. The destruction of every institution that limits power and that guards the rights of the individual. The quotient Dr. Ambedkar went on to say is even more necessary in India. Indians have a tendency to hero worship for some reason. Whether it is Shah Rukh Khan or whether it is, I remember going to Telangana and KCR's son KTR was sharing that lecture. And as we were walking out, there were hordes of people shouting, Star, Star. I said, my God, you're like Shah Rukh Khan. He said, no, I only belong to a party that is in power. But this tendency to fall at the feet of men is endemic to India, and this is what Ambedkar recognized. He says, Bhakti, or the path of devotion or hero worship, plays a part in politics, unequal in magnitude to the part it plays in any other politics. Africans are very contentious of their politicians, and they're so egalitarian. You will have a minister whose sister is a helper in the domestic field. In politics, bhakti or hero worship is a sure road to degradation and to dictatorship. And his warning was prescient because we have shown this uncomfortable tendency of hero worshipping leaders we see as strong and decisive, even if they have violated the basic rights of our fellow citizens. We have actually become blind because we have lost sympathy, we have lost the capacity to imagine. The kind of ugliness that is coming in our body politic can only stem from the lack of sympathy, from the lack of compassion, both of which so strong that people do not voice opinions. A journalist meeting at the press club the other day was missing by the owner because three owners of very popular media houses in London and three anchors. Among them was Pramod Roy, which disappointed me somewhat. I thought he was different. They didn't come to the meeting, they didn't want to be recorded. Anyway, we lost hope in India ever since they interviewed Anish on the history of India. Anish is a party of the history of India. He deals with mythology, he doesn't deal with history, and he imagines mythology. But they were interviewing Surya Singh, was interviewing. After they interviewing Anish, I didn't even read his books, but why are they interviewing Anish as a party? And then you realize it was a long Congress and it is true that constitutions fail. Constitutions have been compromised. They have been periodically dumped in Pakistan, replaced by another one, and then replaced by yet another one. In our country, constitutions have been built according to the political proclivities of democracy, aided by complicit bureaucracies, even judiciaries, and a media that abjectly kneels before power. In other cases, constitutions have been deployed to camouflage authoritarian governments because constitution gives them an air of legitimacy. Nobody wants to do without a constitution. Democracies lapse because constitutions can lapse. But I would say one thing, Indian constitution is important, not because the it has gone into the consciousness of people. And never was this more evident than in the anti-CAA movements. You know, when the CAA bill was passed, December 2018. 2019. Respond. What's happening in society? It's suddenly you see this. And then they don't need to be. After that short detour into India's constitutional history, let's come back to the present. It is these rights that were authored by the leaders of the freedom struggle that we cherish. We knew that India was poor, was diseased. Children were malnourished. There was poverty and there was ill health. But we believe that as long as you have the right to association, as long as you have the right to freedom of assembly, you can press for social rights, the natural progression from political rights is social rights. It's a wrong progression. It has been proved wrong. But this was the generation of the 1970s. The comprehensive restrictions imposed by the Earth emergency jolted the sensitivity of most Indians. And many of us realize that just giving rights in the Constitution is not enough. Just enacting them in laws is not enough. Rights have to be constantly reiterated, asserted, and fought for. Everybody has rights. How does that right realize itself? When we fight for it, when we struggle for it together. This is our right. And this is something, when Tilak is reported to have it, Swaraj is my birthright, and I will have it. Nobody gave him that right. In It was a natural right given to him as a human being. Freedom is my birthright, and I will have it. The government can do anything. This is our birthright. Rights don't come from laws. Rights are supervened on a concept we call human. Otherwise, a state hungry for unlimited power will hijack rights. And the interesting part is that after emergency ended, the most important movement that arose in India, by then we had adopted the language of civil society, was the civil liberties movement. Saying only one thing, give us the right that the Constitution promises, give us our civil liberties. Civil liberties have great philosophical value. The right of the person not to be arrested, the right to bodily integrity, the right not to torture, the right to privacy. The right to be a human being. And this was what the 70s started off in POCL, it split into many groups, but all of them had this overriding commitment to civil liberty, even our Maoist groups. There was a big debate between Palagopal in Hyderabad and the Maoists on violence. And there was a time when Palagopal, who at one time was a theorist of the Maoist movement, said, I have nothing to do with you. You have institutionalized violence as your creed and your job now. Today we are at a similar stage as in the post-emergency. We once again need to retell, re-emphasize, elaborate, justify and launch a struggle for the reclamation of our basic civil liberty. You know, if I may add a little rider here, when UPA 1 happened, and we fought, and all these social rights were lost, and the right to primary education became a part of Article 21. Friends were writing to us from across the world saying, is India going through a socialist revolution? And we said, not really, but yes, we have transited social rights. We had thought we have reclaimed our political and civil liberties, all these movements, women's movement, the Dalit movement, the environmental movement. We have reclaimed our rights, now we need to transit to social democracy. I'm not using welfare state, that's a very paternalistic term. It's actually the high degree of equality. Social democracy, where everybody has the right to participate in the decision that will affect her. It had its critiques. Sonia Gandhi's National Advisory Council had its critiques, I was one of them. And now we look back and say, my God, that was a golden age of rights. Because we come to the BJP in 2014, the BJP is not giving you, is not withdrawing, it's not giving you social rights, it's giving you social policy. This is a Singaporean model. You give to people health, housing, income, a basic standard of living. You even give to people ration, a handful of grain in UP with the Prime Minister's face. Whatever they do to that sack. Did nobody realize that this is not a gift of the political elite? This is the right of every citizen by virtue of being a citizen not to be hungry. You can't get this as a matter of Pradhan Mantri, this Yojana, Pradhan Mantri, that, and take away your civil society. You see, the first, the UPA 1, at least, we had civil society mobilization. Yes. A lot of people getting together, yes, we need the right to primary education, we need the right, the Rega was the most probably the most exciting time of our life. But we had civil society mobilization. Nobody shut you up if you spoke of the need for a right to work. Not a generic right to work, state to translate that. This government is not drawing back from giving, they keep talking about the disadvantage. But they have destroyed your civil society. And if I, okay, I'll come to that later. But in a way, the right to association has been taken. The people have no voice in the making of their own rights. And if people don't have a voice, these are not rights, these are social policies imposed. This is typical, this is East Asia. The leader is everything. Whether you have rights, political rights, civil liberties is not important. The cluster of rights that go into the right to freedom have not been suspended in India till now, like in the United States. Yet citizens are arbitrarily thrown into prison for a tweet, for a social media post, for mild criticism of politics. There is that Nehru who said, Shankar, don't sway me. Where is that politician? Even Sharad Pawar acquiesces when somebody, making a random comment to him is arrested. They can be arrested for a piece published in the newspaper, and they can be arrested if they lampoon power gain. They can of course be arrested if they seek to puncture the vanities of the ruling discourse as Muhammad. They can be arrested if a Tista Setalwaz has brought people who were complicit in the murder of those 2,000 citizens of Gujarat. She can be arrested. But the people who have started this whole vicious circle of hate speech are not arrested. These prisoners, our fellow citizens, people we have sympathy with, people we should be showing solidarity with, languish in the prisons of India's infamous system without any possibility of redress, without hope that the judiciary will, for a change, be a little unpredictable and not only always back the governments. They don't even have the optimism the powerful media will back them up and fight for fellow citizens who have been banished to the damp dungeons of India's prisons. And for reasons, what reasons? A mature democracy would consider them puerile, would consider them not worth taking note of. Cynics will of course ask why corporate houses should defend people who are in prison. That is not the point. Corporate houses, I had written this for the Tribune, they published it today because of the anniversary of Stanford. Yet, I have then written to the editor saying, I have used a quote of Marx. Marx says, accumulate, that is their Moses and their prophet. So I said, don't use the prophet, it will again start off a storm of anger. So they left that out. The famous Marxist philosopher Gregor Spolanza said that what is the task of the capitalist state? He was talking about the specificity of the political, trying to rescue the state from being an executive committee of the bourgeoisie. And he said the specificity of the political is that the state, capitalist state, saves capitalism from the capitalists. The capitalist left to himself will bleed the country dry. You'll have a revolution on your hands. Therefore, states get rights. They're like the safety wall pressure. If that safety wall drops, the pressure is going to explode. So you give them civil society as a space where these rights are articulated and debated and talked about and mobilized. And may I finally remind the audience, for it doesn't keep reminding, of Antonio Gramsci, who was thrown into the prisons, obviously by Mussolini. He started wondering how is it that the advanced capitalist world has not had a revolution, but semi-feudal states have had like Tsarist Russia. Then he came to one conclusion. Advanced capitalist societies have civil societies. People express their freedom of expression, but when you lock up people's freedom of expression, when you close them up, when you destroy argument, destroy debate, destroy everything that makes us human, you will have violence. Violence will take to the streets. There is no other recourse. Your judiciary would listen, your media would listen. Civil society is not there. It's violence. Revolutions do not happen where a state has civil society. They happen in feudal states where naked brute power is unleashed on the people. And therefore, the emphasis on civil society, particularly after the 1970s experiment in Poland, solidarity with communication, then civil society actually brought so many Stalinist states down, which is a good thing. There was a time when we were caught in the trap of Cold War rhetoric. Societies have political and civil rights, and socialist societies actually exist in civil societies and social rights. The end of the Cold War thankfully brought this to an end. It is true that a hungry human being cannot be a free human being. But if a well-fed human being is prevented from following her views, she is also not free. If the rights come in packages, you can't divide them up. This versus that. We take away your civil liberty by giving this Yojana and that Yojana. Freedom is a romantic term. Equality is a much more difficult concept. Equality is more intellectual. We have to justify equality. Freedom is gut reaction. You try hugging an infant. The boiling it sets up will, set your house on fire. They want to be free. That impulse to be free has destroyed slavery. It has destroyed serfdom. It has destroyed colonialism. It has also destroyed arbitrary colonial states. Freedom is a romantic term, and I'm using the term romantic very advisedly, because it creates the conditions in which human beings make and remake their world. And as a last point, in Sleep and Poetry, Keats puts it this way. He says, no great ministry reason sorts out the dark mysteries of the human souls to clear concealment. Yet there ever rose a vast idea before me, and I glean therefrom my liberty. My liberty is the liberty to dream of what I want to live in, not what somebody else thinks I should live in. This imaginative, creative, poetic human being has to be free of censorship. She has to have the freedom to do what she wants within the bounds of reasonableness. She should be able to wear what she wants, marry whom she wants, not marry. Trace the wisps of her dream. Speak back to her history, not of her people. And in short, be an individual who has the possibility of realizing her own potential. The precondition of agency, of us being an actor, is freedom. Take away freedom, you will have a diminished society on your hands. The only recourse will be violence. Freedom does not create violence. Absence of freedom does.
Thank you very much, for this wonderful lecture. You trace us back to the history of our rights, the freedom struggle, how the Constitution was formed, and the dangers that the framers of the Constitution had perceived, and how it is unfolding today as we struggle with a situation which is not what we had envisioned, or what was envisioned by the framers of the Constitution. So I think, we shall just have some questions. Now I'm sure, you will have a lot of questions to ask and then we shall continue this conversation for a few minutes through some questions. So, anyone, just raise your hand and we shall have the mic from you.
Thank you, Professor, for the lecture. I just wanted to know, we were talking about freedom, the freedom for because you were referring to Simon Commission and Motilal Nehru and they used to talk about these rights of other tribes, especially Institute for Tribals. And as I was listening to the lecture, I was thinking what kind of worldview that you were talking from and whose freedom you were talking. It was the freedom which is called we were learning, and all that idea came from the Christian ethics and English speaking tradition. Before that, there is no freedom for Hindutva. You never mentioned anything about that. Thanks.
Take some more questions. So anyone else?
Human rights. I'm completely disappointed. I think as a student, I don't see any future today in the kind of situation we are living. And the way our colleagues, friends, co-contributors in the book, like Anand Tetunde, we have contributed a chapter on the same book. They are being jailed. Zubair, I know him personally. He is arrested now. So in such situation, what do you suggest from your experience that how we can come out of this? What is the way of how we can organize ourselves? Where is the possibility? This is a question that is intriguing to me all the time. I would like to know from a teacher, my teacher, Professor Yasmin.
Yeah, there behind me. Okay. Yeah, you can sit down and use the mic.
On bus stand, take 2 minutes and it picks up from where my friend Surya Sarkar began. And I also knew him and I documented the visits. I was not very young. I don't think freedom struggles are over. 100 freedom struggles go on in other societies, among the Dalits, the poor. I find it both ironic and strengthening that we have you speaking his memorial in the archdiocese of Delhi. For many of us, particularly me, we also want a vibrant society within of religion. What is the point of living in a wide Indian democracy when there is no democracy in Islam and Christianity, in Jainism and Sikhism, in Hinduism, in Islam? So, democracy itself is a complex thing. You mentioned quite correctly the colonial, and then I thought it was very good the way you traced it back to 40 years after the first war of independence or the first rebellion. But even then, in the non-British India, there were rebellions and freedom struggles which were not directed at the British, but against the Ragwadas, against the Scindias, the Dharwadis, and all the other little pipsqueaks for no novels have been made, and that freedom struggle is not yet over. And I think, quite correctly, Stan and people like him, 70 of them still in jail, maybe 700 awaiting in jail. They are continuing their freedom struggle. There is hope therefore on that. When you talk of human rights, because that was an area they spoke of, but didn't speak of the human rights defenders. Today, even when we are broadcasting the fact that you would speak here, There was fear in Christian Mughal groups. Fear demanding silence. We must not respond, we must not talk, but mostly we must not write. And that was an issue that was something that is done now. It was not done in the emergency. In the emergency it was done about a year. There was circumstance, there were all sorts of things. Even George Fernandez would go as a turban driver and travel to this community. This thing now, we are on a very dangerous thing of what he has taught. And don't answer his question, because both of us have been done. What are we facing? We face a clash between the police of UP, then militia, and the militia of Chhattisgarh. In the Far East, Northeast, we are particularly seeing clashes, armed clashes between the group forces of Assam versus Meghalaya versus Nagaland versus Tripura versus what do you call it? We are under the verge of a civil war because the southern police support of the larger kingdom have created a situation of fear that nobody speaks. And I speak with some pride that stands for, and 40 years earlier, when the emergency was on, who was not then the Archbishop, Vincent Pasasar, living in South Delhi, what is now that Chitri area, fought with the emergency. And I think this tradition has to be revived. And this is my answer to that. What we do, we go in the road of this with candles.
Yes, before that question, Dr. Meera can respond to these three questions and then we'll move on to the next.
Can I be thank you for the first question. See, concepts, political concepts that are of value. You should be very careful to see they're not printed off of each other. So when you ask for freedom, you don't leave out important keys. Freedom is important for everyone. Then everybody has to be equal. The problem is that if you only look at equality, and I'm basically a votary of equality, but I've come to believe that it's a very difficult concept to pursue. Freedom is much more practical. Like Byron wrote in his child had a manner of individual speech, common in the ways. There is something very soul-stirring about it, right? The next stage of argument is it is important for you that everybody should be the direct, the modern, the advanced. From everybody who has been subjected to any kind of the philosopher Bimal Matilal has one put it very well. He looked at the epic Mahabharata. And he said it was the same, not the same, the sage who had always vowed to present truth. When once he told, he did tell us, and it caused people to be killed. Now, Martin, and he did not go to heaven. He wanted to go to heaven because that's why he always told the truth. But because he caused himself, he didn't go to heaven. And Martinal said very interestingly, he said, unlike the Ten Commandments, and I'm very familiar with the Ten Commandments, I studied it on way. In Indian ethics or Hindu ethics, ahimsa and satya are equally important. Now, what do you do to maintain? You have to make it clean. And Martinal said the guy could have kept quiet when the guidance asked him where did the travel go. He should have kept quiet. Or he should have said, I know what I will not do. He did not have told him untruth. And he need not have committed, led to the commitment of violence. You have to be very strategic in what you said that everybody has to be. Because that is what we are going about. There are other ways. We can go ways inside. But today I was speaking. We were speaking the same. That's why I concentrate on it. Because I'm perfectly capable of defending the same value that I'm defending. We'll go
Please raise the mic.
On Saturday we had a webinar on the latest collection of pieces on edited by Surendra's. It was an online webinar. And when I read the introduction, I found something very interesting. He was taking testimonies of these peasants who are being subjected to unthinkable taxation. They said we will not give it to police here. And Gandhi said, the idea of civil disobedience is not to only challenge this. It is to talk of how do we proceed. And Gandhi incidentally at that point when he went to Champaran, said he was so uncannily reminiscent of what's happening today. And in a way, the conquest of fear ought to be a dominant aspect of any struggle for freedom. I'm not saying social hierarchies are wrong, but choose your priority. We have to be free of these locals who walk around, or free of governments like the ones that have been formed in Maharashtra. What is it made up of? Saleable people who can be bought and sold. It's so happened, and just a matter of God. I happen to be in a hotel where only Shakespeareans were also funded up. And then I told my son, I said, my God, we walked into a political explosive. The next morning I was I don't abide by it because it is a bunch of myths which are invented by the world. So in a way, I think we have to look at the movies. And I'm wondering after this week, what are they preparing the young men for? So joyful mercenary armies, 29 of them in Manipur.
Yeah, there was a quick question there. We have one last round of questions.
This could be a hypothetical question, but by talking about the composition of the Constituent Assembly, you mentioned that there is one thought. Nehru wanted a directly elected one, but we had to settle for a indirectly elected one, and the property class and the that's not both those things. So today we often hear the criticism that the current constitution that we have is the product of election. It did not reflect the voice of the ordinary people who did not get a chance to be elected in the assembly or so in your opinion, if you could have got this speech of having a directly elected assembly, we have still got the kind of we have compromise.
Anyone else? Last round. There are several prominent civil society members over here. Okay.
Well, obviously it was flawed. They don't like the idea of the Constitutional Assembly based upon a restricted franchise. I think they had set about creating an institute for that, franchise the entire country. Like it did for that. Granted also, I'm not really sure what happened in the Constitution, but he said it functioned democratically. They function democratically. They have great respect for each other. The fact that they are invited Shamak Prasad was taking credit of Shamak Prasad. In a way, that wisdom of Nehru saved the Constituent Assembly from too much attack because it acted like a representative assembly. The only problem I have is that they brought social rights. But that was something they would not accept in the advisory committee. More than that, I'm not willing to comment on because I haven't gone into detailed debates. In fact, Sumit Sarkar has argued that even if you had had universal adult franchise for creating the Constituent Assembly, you wouldn't have come up with a very different constitution because you have to see a whole year that undermines the people. They visualize themselves. So creating the trial by fire. So who was the politician who spent the largest number of years in jail? Years. So in a way, they had proved that their credibility and they were credible. So Sumit Sarkar's idea is that he could not have made that much of a decision. Right? Yeah. Even though it's not been ordered by
Okay, so thank you very much, Professor Neera, for this wonderful, not only lecture, but also this interaction, trying to enlighten us on the history of the rights that we have gained in the Constitution and how it is being played out today. Today, I think we had a very interesting, intellectually engaging session and a wonderful tribute to Stan Swamy. But today, as we celebrate the first death anniversary of Stan Swamy with this memorial lecture, we also express our solidarity with many others who are still suffering. Sudha Bharadwaj and Maravara Rao are out on bail, but several others, people whom we know, whom we have associated with, whom we have invited for lectures and so on in the past. And the more recent arrest of Sri Kumar, Ista Sativa, and earlier Sanjeev Bhatt, and several others who are also implicated falsely on account of their resistance to Citizenship Amendment Act and wrongly and falsely implicated in the riots. So we express our solidarity, and in the very fact that we are holding this event over here and several other events that are taking place all over the country and several events that are taking place virtually is itself an expression of freedom, expression of resistance, expression of our faith in our democracy, faith in our rights, and it's also an expression that we will not be cowed down by fear. We will continue to speak the truth. We will continue to speak truth to power, just as Stan did. And just as Stan said, I'm not a silent spectator. I'm ready to pay the price, whatever it is. And he paid the price for it, for standing for the truth, standing for justice. I think we go back with this message of Father Stan, as well as all the others who are wrongly implicated, for standing for the rights of people, standing with the victims of violence, standing with the most marginalized people in our country. So thank you very much for your patient hearing and for engaging with us. Surely we can continue the conversation over tea. And I invite say friend Jacob to propose the word of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I'm again once here to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the Federation of Catholic Association of the Archdiocese of Delhi. On behalf of our President, Mr. A.C. Michael, I'm expressing my gratitude especially to Professor Meera for her powerful memorial lecture. And I'm sure most of us who are here have experienced the spirit of Father Stan Swamy today. Most of us, because the memorial lecture took us into a different world of reality, where we could find ourselves what is missing and what needs to be done. So ma'am, we are very grateful to you and we express our heartfelt thanks to you for a beautiful and enlightening speech. I also express my sincere gratitude to Father Felix, yes, Father, for welcoming us and giving us a welcome address. Then I thank Father Father Denzil for chairing the day today and leading us in a perfect manner to pay tribute to one of the best celebrated lives that we ever had, Father Stan Swamy. Thank you, Father. And now, all of you are requested to stay back and we'll have a coffee and then we can also have sharing of our thoughts with one another. Thank you so much.
Yeah, before we conclude, and as a token of gratitude, I would like to give this memoir of Father Stan. Father Stan himself, his writings and all the poems, this to you as token of gratitude. Thank you very much. We also have behind two books, one on Father Stan Swamy, Martyr, Maoist or Martyr, by Father Prakash Lewis. That's for 350, and there's another book, If Not Now When, describing feminist questions. All women writers inspired by Father Stan has published a book, and there it is for 250. You can go and buy the books while you have the PhD. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.